Alright, I'm the last grade audit. Welcome to another snapshot of the inside of my brain. Sitting here in the gym parking lot again, and had a thought about role-playing games. Because, these can't all be grim geopolitical or existential questions. That's a bit depressing even for me. What I was thinking about was why role-playing games are so combat-oriented. Now, long story short, I loved, and still do love, nerd stuff growing up. But I also grew up in a time and a place slightly before you could do that openly. Slightly before you could be out as a nerd. So I envy a lot of what I see younger, not even kids anymore, younger adults. The way I can see them openly flaunt their geekiness. And it's great. They can be an active and social and worthwhile person in the eyes of society and a geek. Whereas, when I'm from, it was really one or the other. And I got invited by a friend a while back to go play Dungeons and Dragons. Always seemed sort of fun, didn't really seem like my jam, but it's one of those things that I've always figured I should try. Like, I don't know, skydiving or karaoke or something like that. Not really my jam, but I should give it a go. Skiing is a good one. I'm not going to do it on my own. But if someone says, hey, let's go skiing, I got extra skis and we have a weekend. Sure, yeah, I'll go skiing. That sounds rad. So I can say I tried it. And I did. I tried it. And I had a really good time. I've gone back a few times now. Maybe half a dozen. And everyone there is a massive nerd. It's at a game store in town. Everyone there is exactly who you picture. And my buddy who brought me and I aren't necessarily. He's a big old, 6'4", former Marine. I'm no shrinking violet my own self. And we approach this fantasy setting, this realm in which you can build a character to be. So you can build your own little avatar in these scenarios. We approach it very, very differently. At first, I thought it was just some of the younger kids, because there's some kids there, I don't know, middle school, lower high school age. And again, they're exactly who you picture. And, all their characters are dragonborn this or barbarian that. And they've got all this imagery of the cool moves they do that they love to describe. That's fine. I'm not knocking it. But I was ascribing it for a while to this childlike desire to be cool, to have a cool character. And it's not really just them. Some of the older people, not all of them, but some of the older people are more subtle about it. But it's all sort of that same, my character is awesome. My character is somebody from a graphic novel. And it occurs to me that a large part of what these people are doing is they are being something they're not. It is escape for them. They're being... This is their theater to be in their eyes, a more idealized sort of thing. Now, my buddy and I, again, we don't need to role play what it would be like to, go and be a raging drunken barbarian or go try to seduce lizard people at a bar or whatever. It's not alien to us. Our approach seems to be, so far, let's make a thing independently. We didn't consult on this, but we both seem to want to make a thing that is unlike us and put it into scenarios, mostly for shenanigans. In fact, I think my character is entirely shenanigans based. I basically decided to be a Ninja Turtle, and I didn't tell anyone. And mostly I try to get everyone into trouble because I think it's funny. And, so far it is. It's a good time. I don't know what it's like to be a Ninja Turtle, and I don't know what it's like to deal with this fantasy universe, so I want to explore the boundaries. I want to see what I can get away with in terms of shenanigans. It's the big problem I see in the D&D system, is that it is incredibly combat oriented. And I get why. I understand, and not just D&D, but most role-playing games. It's very combat oriented, and there's two clear reasons for that. One, it is incredibly quantifiable. Combat is very, very easy to use as a determinant of success. The thing is either dead or not. The plot either hinges on this thing being dead or not. Your characters, are either killed or they're not. It's easy, but it's very, very lazy. And again, these are people to whom combat is alien and exciting, and it is demonstrating your worth, your prowess, violently on the world around you, which unfortunately I do think many people who have not had significant experience with violence, especially significant experience inflicting violence, tend to see that sort of behavior as what is done by strong, dominant people, which is a shame, but it's understandable. It also, everybody needs to be much more creative, much looser if you're trying to deal with situations in a non-combat way. I think so far in, a couple of weeks, like I said, maybe 6-7 weeks, I think I've killed 2 things in the game, and one of them was both of them were entirely on accident. I think I've been killed, or whatever the knockdown version of killed is, at least half a dozen times. I've actually been killed and had to make new characters about twice. But I get to play with problem solving and testing the people around me. I'm very explicitly, after I accidentally won a campaign that I sat in on by unionizing all of the baddies, goblins, and then swarming her. I'm no longer allowed to unionize fantasy creatures, which is a shame, but it was fun. It was something that nobody at that table had ever thought to do. And we got to do it. Everybody at that table has played, yes, we stabbed the giant spider monster. Fine. I'm not knocking it. But it's so much more interesting if you get to play rather than fight with a math book. But I think so much of the reason that you do wind up seeing most roleplay games be combat oriented, be about these cool uber quote unquote type A characters overcoming things with violence, is because the people that overwhelmingly engage in that see that as incredibly antithetic to themselves, and that's their form of escape. That's their form of being a thing they're convinced they can't be. And I'm generalizing, but I'm not sure what that says about us as a society. Actually, I am. It's a little depressing, but I hope going forward, because I don't know if it's a thing I'll continue to do. Probably not. It's been a fun experiment, but going forward, I'd love to imagine that as it becomes more and more acceptable to be a geek, and you could still be cool and be a geek, be successful and attractive and be a geek, that we see more of a move away from these combat-oriented games. Not that so that we remove combat, but so that it becomes less central to everything. Anyway, this has been The Last Great Audit.